Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Jade. This is How to App on iOS, and it's Friday here in Australia. And for the rest of the world, you're all still catching up because we live in the future. Today on How to App on iOS, I have an awesome person waiting to have on the show for a long time, Samantha Edge. And we're going to kick off with some of her music. So sit back, folks, and let your ears be treated to loveliness.
Reaching out, I'm falling, trying to keep calling. This is it, the end of things. You had my heart, you broke it from the start. You choked me till I could no longer fly. But there were rainbows around the corner, a new life where I wasn't broken. And sometimes you have to lose it to be reminded why it's important. And it's all about me now, no longer looking over my shoulder. And you can pretend that it was nothing, but I remember the puzzle fell into their places as soon as you walked out the door. I felt the weight lift off me, unlocked the chain that held me and dug my toes into the sand. 'Cause there were rainbows around the corner, a new life where I wasn't broken. And sometimes you have to lose it to realize what's really important. And it's all about me now, no longer looking over my shoulder. And you can pretend that it was nothing, but I remember her. And you can look right through me, 'cause the girl you knew has disappeared. And I will not be her again. It's all about me now, no longer looking over my shoulder. And you can pretend that it was nothing, but I remember her. And you can look right through me, 'cause the girl you knew has disappeared. I walked away from all her tears, and now I see it crystal clear. And you will not have me again.
Howdy do. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the show. today, man, I love that song so much. That song makes me happy all the time, and nearly every time I watch this amazing artist perform in her live streams on YouTube, I normally ask for that song. So I'm a bit repetitive and boring. So without further ado, this artist I've been waiting to have on the show for so long. Not only is she an amazing musician, singer, songwriter, but she creates her own art as well. She does her own vlog. She's one of the most interpersonal creators I know on YouTube. I feel like I know her just from watching her live streams. She's colourful, amazing. She's an accomplished busker. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Finally, Samantha Edge. How are you today, Samantha?
Hi, Jade. I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. Hey, we got here. We made it online.
We did.
Good job. So yeah, look, it's been a while, and for those people watching, I normally do the stream at 8 in the morning here in Australia, and I've decided that we'll change the times up more to suit the artist, because Sam is a night owl and she does her shows at random times, like 1 a.m.
3 in the morning sometimes.
1 a.m, 11, 3 a.m. I'm just
something like that.
And I'm a night owl too, so I'm normally sitting there doing something or other, watching YouTube, and then bing, Samantha's about to go live. I'm like, yay! Either I'm going to watch you for the whole performance, or you put me to sleep, which is, I love that.
And in the nicest way possible, of course.
Of course, yeah. Definitely not in a bad way. I lay there going, I really should roll over and comment. But I'm so tired. So let's start out. I want to ask you the question I ask everyone who comes on. It's very boring, I know, and typical, but what does music mean to Samantha Edge?
Music means freedom and expression. It's something that brings vibrancy to my life and meaning. I don't know what I'd be without music. I mean, you've laid out, I do all these things, but music is the cornerstone, or the building block of everything that comes from that. It is the main way that I enjoy just expressing my creativity. And I'm just very lucky that I was born and I have a decent sort of voice, and I worked on it a lot as well. Because it certainly didn't start out as it is now. It was horrible for a long time there, and I'm sorry, my siblings.
Sorry. I've never heard anybody apologise to their siblings before.
Yeah, it's probably being a bit generous, but... No, I did get a karaoke machine for Christmas one time, and I was awful. So, yeah. But
that's encouraging, at least.
It is encouraging, yeah.
Yeah.
I was on the right path. It just wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah. So I say all the time, I grew up in a house where my mum listened to music, and my dad listened to horse racing. So.
Are you serious right now?
Oh my God,
because my mum listens to music, and my dad had horses that he did with horse racing, and so he listened to it on the radio all the time. So I'm really creeped out at the moment. Cringe. We have that in common.
My dad, we used to go get ice cream when I was young. I remember as kids, we'd go for a walk on a Friday night. He'd take the transistor on his shoulder like a boombox. Race 1, Doonbin, 1 and 1 for 1. I'm like, oh my God, dude.
And they're off.
Yeah. Kill me, please. I hate horse racing. I love horses. But
yeah.
We grew up with horses in the family, but I just hate horse racing completely.
Well, I got dragged along to all the races, and we'd always get there too late for all the carnival rides, so I was disappointed every single time.
The best part,
but,
yeah.
You get a bucket of chips, and that is probably the best memory there. And I went and got frozen Cokes or frozen drinks with my dad, and in the ute there'd be the horse races on. So
yeah. I was the same. My dad used to stop at the TAB whenever we were in the car, and I'd have to go in there with him, and I'd just be counting the amount of plumbers' crack bums I could see.
Oh.
That's terrible. But there were so many dudes with their pants hanging down back then, and they weren't young. So speaking of home, do you recall the music that was played in your house as you were growing up? What were some of the tunes that your mum played?
Yeah, so Mum really liked the Seekers and the Beatles. There was, I think, the Everly Brothers, and I'm trying to think of another big one. Definitely, what's her name? I always blank on this. No, Judy Garland, is that the lady from the Seekers? There was just lots of, so my mum was born in the 50s, and lots of sort of 60s music was what I was raised on, which probably plays into how my, musical style came about, being that calm, chilled out, sort of just vocal type music.
Yeah. So, I always find that I love asking that question because, like, I used to think back to the music that I listened to around the house and would be like, oh man, it's so daggy. Like, really? But there is so much of it that comes through my stuff, even though I do a lot of metal and a lot of rock. And but I still love Olivia Newton-John, and that was in my house constantly as I was growing up. I can't tell you how many times I have seen all Olivia Newton-John's Grease and all that stuff with Two Sisters. So, so with you, are you close with your family? Is your family an important part of your music and your creativity?
I am close with my parents, and they're very supportive of me. So that's at least been something. I mean, obviously, growing up, for me, it was 90s, 2000s. There was still that big sort of push for people to find real jobs, like work through school and get an education, get a degree and go and get a real job. But, I think my parents could see this is where my passion lies. And after just a little while of me trying certain different things, I just came back to the music, and it was like, this is where things are at for me.
Yeah.
And so like my mum would be my biggest fan, my biggest supporter. She tries to make it to every gig she can. She tunes into live streams. She was a really big help when I first started busking, actually, because she'd come with me carrying all the different bags, helping me through it, like, because this is before we like discovered you could get a trolley and like load it in a certain way that I could just push it myself. So, she helped me, allowed me to be able to do the busking at the beginning, because I just had too much stuff being a pianist and vocalist to do it all myself. And yeah, she's always been like at the big events and everything. And we're going to move to the next question because I'm getting emotional.
Well, the next question is not going to help much because, like, this is what happens on my show. And I've met your mum in the chat before too, and I remember it was her birthday too, and we all wished her happy birthday on your live chat.
Yep.
So I already knew she was a big supporter, so that's awesome. I think that's wonderful. If you're watching out there, love your work, Mum. So I also know that pets are a massive part of your life. Massive in many ways, good times and bad times.
Yeah.
Of recent times. So
yeah, I've always been very connected with animals. I think even like my dad raising like race horses and everything. There were horses on the farm, and we always had dogs and cats growing up and everything. And it's so easy just to spend time with them.
Yeah.
They don't judge you.
Yeah. Well, they can be like my cat before each show, funnily enough, just sits at my door going meow, meow every show without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel terrible because I have to get the water bottle and go, no, you have to go away, have a quick spray, go away.
I'm saying I don't want to be without you for an hour or whatever.
But then he'll come in and knock everything over. So
I know, yeah.
Or you'll just sit here and meow all the way through. Super talkative cat. So, and with you, do your animals inspire your music at all?
Well, I have written a song about cats.
Yeah.
I wrote that for a adoption group, so Cat Adoption Foundation. I decided to write a song for them. But I wouldn't say they inspire my music, but more that they help with my mood so that I can be in a like inspired mood, you know.
And cats are your thing too, aren't they?
Oh, they are. And now I've got the puppy, and the puppy is just crazy energy compared to a cat.
Yeah.
But, you know, she started cuddling on the couch now that I've given in and let her on the couch. So she will cuddle with me too, and that, you know, I'm used to the cuddling thing with the cat, so I'm feeling a lot more connected lately. And she gets me out the house. She's a good reason to keep active.
Yeah. But she, you know, eventually she's going to come around. And
oh, yeah.
I mean, I've watched your whole journey, and anyone can. This is a beautiful thing because Samantha blogs all this stuff on YouTube, and you can go back and see all this stuff from when she first got Zoe and started keeping her up at nights, and there were tears, and it's been there's been times I'm sitting there watching just going, oh no, and then other times when you have success at puppy training and stuff. And I know this isn't music related, but it is because it's related to health and well-being, and music, that's an important part of creativity. So
yeah, it certainly helps me grow. Challenges help you grow.
Tolerance.
So, and I have no idea what this year would have been like without her. And given what this year's been like in general, I don't know that it would have been any better, to be honest. I think all that the good that she's brought has kept me very much busy, and busyness helps sometimes.
Oh, she's on a par with COVID. That's
no, not what I was saying at all.
No, I'm just being silly. So, speaking of silly, let's have a look over at the chat and see who's here today. Not that you guys are silly, but I should say hello to you all. I can see Pete Johns is here. G'day, Pete. Tom Rochelle is in the chat. Desolate morning. Welcome. Tom Rochelle. I always said Tom Rochelle. What's going on? I've done 2 shows today. Go easy on me. Lucas Perea. Gary Hubbs, welcome aboard as well. So we've got a bunch of people here. And Pete, as usual, doing a fantastic job as my spanner in the room, putting some links in the room. Thank you very much, Pete, for all you do.
Ah, thank you. You see, it automatically went to top chat, and it looked like there was absolutely no one here
Yes.
for me. But I've swapped that over now, so if anyone else is having the same issue, change it off to live chat, and you'll be able to see what everyone's saying.
Thank you, YouTube, for your never-ending
Thank you,
changes
YouTube.
and making life difficult for us all as creators. So, getting away from pets for a second, who are your musical influences?
Like, I have to say, Missy Higgins is the largest one. She's the artist I have covered the most songs of. Because since something like 13, when she released Starr on the radio,
What a
like
song.
ever since then, just obsessed. Like, she writes amazing songs, and it's rare that you get songs that are a bit on the lower range. And so when I was growing up, at least, it was really hard to cover a lot of the songs that were on the radio because they were extremely high. And I was like, I can't do that. But Missy's songs were just like, they had so much emotion, everything to them. And they were there within my range for the most part. So no wonder I learnt so many of them. I do have fond memories. In year 12, we had music as a subject where you actually had lessons where you just went to a room and practiced alone. No teacher there, just that. And that was the best part of my year 12. Just being able to go to that room with the piano, sit down and just practice a bunch of songs. And oftentimes they were Missy Higgins covers getting me through. So Missy Higgins, Colby Callie came out a little bit later, but she also is a big influence. Taylor Swift also later. And I'm trying to think, like, I was a bit into the more punk stuff like as a older teenager.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I couldn't emulate that. My voice is not that. So it's interesting. There is a very big difference in between what you listen to and what you play.
Yep.
Although I do listen to obviously all the songs that I play as well, but I'm not limited by my vocal capabilities with my, ears. So nowadays I enjoy like Thirsty Merc, Imagine Dragons, like Birds of Tokyo, and I'm trying to think, but yeah, just there's a lot in there. I love music. It's great.
It is good, isn't it? It picks you up, it brings you down, it smashes you all around, and
oh yeah,
I think you summed it up at the beginning. Like what you said. I think it reminds you that you're human. Often we talk about emotions and stuff, and people bottling up emotions and controlling our emotions and all these things and getting them under control. And music allows us to vomit our emotions everywhere for a bit.
And what's better than hearing a song and just relating to it completely?
100%.
And it's just so healing.
Yeah. So you mentioned school. I don't have this in my bullet point, but I will go here.
Okay, let's throw it in there.
Yeah, of course. So did you study music at school? Was I don't know what the Adelaide equivalent of is. So was it a part of your school education?
Yeah, so I went to Trinity College in Gawler here in South Australia. I know. And we had a music program, so that was good. We were one of the sort of lucky schools to have music. And it was quite good, actually. So I guess, just basic things through the younger years of schooling. And when it got to the stage where you started to pick your lessons, it was one of the things you could choose. I do remember actually in year 10, we had, I think it was called Music Vet or something. And we actually had a bunch of musicians, and we got split into 2 bands, and we had to play songs as bands. And I remember writing. We were given an assignment to write a song. So I did write, I think, 2 songs back then that we all played as a band. I still remember one of them, I think. Not very well. I found it and I put it somewhere, but I remember we did a concert with that song, and my mum was obviously there.
Yeah. Yay.
And I think one of my friends was also in the music class and in the same band as I was in, and his mum was there, and they were sitting together. And after we played and everyone clapped and whatever, I came down and I'm like, I just, the song, I didn't really mean what I was saying, blah, 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 because I didn't want my mum to worry that I wasn't having a good time at school.
That's so cute.
So I was like, I don't feel all this way of feeling invisible and I wish I'd just disappear and all that. So
life's good, Mum. Life's good.
Life's good. But when you write, it can just come out as complete truth, bearing your soul and all that. So, but yeah, music was very supported at my school, and there were lots of opportunities. And when school finished, that's when I ended up doing open mic nights and eventually starting busking, because all those opportunities that I'd gotten used to having at school, being able to play in the hall area at lunchtime and stuff like that for the other students and all that, they just dropped away. And there was I'm a musician.
Yeah.
Where am I meant to play?
Yeah.
And so after a bit of the open mic nights and everything, I was like, okay, let's try this busking thing. I can't even remember whether someone suggested it to me or whether I just thought about going into the city when I was younger and seeing buskers, because they certainly were a lot of buskers before I started 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a good journey with music.
And I'm so glad I asked that question, because I knew it would lead beautifully into busking. So, and I want to talk on this subject a bit, because I've been a busker too. I was a busker for a long, long time. So I've had the nights where I've had someone try and rob me. I've had the nights where I've made $500. I've had the day where somebody gave me $100 note. All those kind of days. Yes. If you're good at your job and you work hard at it and perform well, all these good things happen, but the sad stuff happens too. Do you remember the first day you went out busking and how you felt?
So, you know what? It's funny that I remember setting up in Gawler Place, which is like the middle of our shopping mall here.
Yeah.
And I remember the nerves, just that, taking a few breaths and trying to like compose myself before I started playing. You could feel the fear in your fingertips. If I play this chord, I'm actually starting to bust. And everyone here is going to hear it. So I remember that. And then, you overcome that and just do it. And then you're playing to all these people. And I remember that I'd taken Mum, obviously. I think I'd perhaps I was working as a chiropractic assistant or a receptionist at the time. I think I might have worked a morning shift that day, and then I'd just gone out in the afternoon. And so I remember after playing my first busking session, Mum and I left just after one little session, but we had all the money in a bag, just like, one of those reusable Woolworths bags or whatever. And we'd gotten into the car because it's so paranoid. We're like, oh my God, we're carrying cash. Like we have to get back to the car. And we drove to actually like a McDonald's or something to go and get an ice cream or something afterwards. And we get to McDonald's and I've got this pile of cash and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I've just earned more today in this one little session than I earn each week at my chiropractic assistant job.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. And I'm definitely, busking has changed now, but this is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, people were so welcoming to buskers and so giving. And so I believe now, I don't have stats from back then, but I believe it was over $200 that I earned on my first time. And I was like, what is this? I was just like, I just got to do what I love to do to all these people that, I would never have got the opportunity to perform to. And I got paid for it and paid well. Yeah. and I was addicted because who doesn't enjoy when you can do what you love and make money from it and have it be successful? So.
And no middleman, not having to deal with like a promoter or anything like that. You still have to sometimes deal with drunks.
Yeah.
And it'll talk.
Well, I think it all comes down to you're self-managed. Yeah. So you have to manage all the situations yourself.
Which it's a really hard thing because, you are almost like a psychologist at the same time, and because that personal space, there's no stage breaking you up, and people can get right in that zone and be here going, can I have a go on your piano, love?
Plus you also sometimes just get into like half-hour-long conversations with random strangers, and sometimes that's a very welcome thing, sometimes it's not so much, but I can get really chatty as well. And so you can just have someone come up that's like at the same sort of energy level as you. And suddenly you're half an hour later and you're like, oh, wait, I was meant to be busking right now.
I'm not making any of that sweet money.
But, all of these things, they like create cool experiences and stories in the end. So, it's life.
Yeah. And like over time, how did I'll just, for an example, like when I started out, I had this huge, I still have the book I carry around. It's somewhere, probably sitting down on the floor, somewhere around here anyway. And it has all my written songs in it. And when I first started, I had a huge list of stuff that I would play and try not to repeat the songs. But towards the end, over the years, because I would only do Friday and Saturday nights for about 2 years I did that. 3 hours each night. I would get to some nights where I'd just play one song for the 3 hours. And that's really lazy, because I would play in Flinders Street train tunnel, so you're not getting the same people come through for 3 hours, and they're all going to the footy.
I bet the workers hated you.
They sure did. but you know, because I was singing in a band too, I had to preserve my voice for actually doing that. So that was the reasoning behind it. And if you're trying to do too much, you can burn yourself out trying to do songs that are out of your range, but you want to do them so much. So how has your song list evolved throughout your time busking?
I think, you know, I already had quite a lot of cover songs when I started, because of, you know, learning all through schooling and everything. So I had about like 10 folders of sheet music that I would, sheet music and chords that I'd obviously like downloaded from guitar tabs and printed off and whatever. But I would carry them around. They were heavy, like in this bag. And then luckily technology came along, and so we got a tablet, and you know, definitely a bit bigger than this one is now, but we started putting into all the sheet music into the computer, then into the tablet, and that really helped out. And I don't play all the songs that I used to play back then, because I've learned a lot more songs in 10 years.
Yep.
And it always just varies. It's really nice to go back, though, to some of those older tunes and sort of get transported back to when I'd play them. Like one of them, I got asked whether I played Angel by Sarah McLachlan.
Yep.
And I didn't at the time, went home and learned it. And then when I went back out, I performed it. And I reckon that song was one of the songs that really drew a crowd to me at the time. So I can, like, my mum would take pictures of me as well whilst I was performing. So I've still got some of those pictures from, you know, years ago. And straight away, when I think about Angel, I can see there's one picture that she took from that day that I performed it, when the guy that had asked me whether I performed it was there in the crowd. And yeah, once again, memory is just an amazing thing.
Yeah. Have you ever had anyone try to rob you?
Oh, yeah. The most memorable time was massive crowd around me. Once again, another photo that I've got here.
Oh,
and
the memories.
I was near the Rundle Mall Balls, actually. And a guy who, I'm not sure if he had a disability or anything, but he came up and, you know, just grabbed a handful and shoved it in his pocket. Well, I think if you were trying to successfully rob someone, you probably wouldn't do it when there's about 30 people watching her. Yeah. So everyone just went, oh, and like about 3 people like jumped on him and got the money back.
Thank you,
and
crowd.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of audience members are really like good with the whole solidarity thing. Mm-hmm. They're like, we're here, we're enjoying what you're doing, and we're going to protect you if anything happens.
Yep.
I've had people wander past when things have been going on, or someone's talking to me that's maybe just a little bit sketchy, and they'll look over and they go, are you okay? Just mouthing it at me, and I either go or I go. And then, you know, yeah, exactly. So it's always been really good having that mentality there within my audience members. And I also do remember another time, even back ages ago, I had a boyfriend. We did a bit of a duo out in Rundle Mall. The only time that I've ever done anything actually that's not solo as a busker. And someone came up and took from our case then, and he threw down his guitar and went and got it from her and whatever. Interesting, you know, it was a her at the time, so it's not always men.
Yep.
But yeah, it happens. It didn't happen. I've got that little bit of footage of that guy at the railway station that just went, oh yeah, I guess I'll get my change for the train out of here. And just wandered off with it. But yeah, oh well. Whatever, he must have needed it.
My worst one was these two guys cased me. And like I would, because I play guitar, I got the guitar case on the ground, and I'd always keep a pair of pliers in my pocket to cut the strings on my guitars if I break a string. Wink, wink. Because I don't want to carry a knife around. I'm not that kind of person, you know?
Yeah.
And they both came up to me. I knew what was going to happen straight away. They both had hoods over their heads. One of them was looking at my case. The other one came and started talking to me. So they had one on each side.
Yeah.
And the one looking at my case stupidly just grabbed the whole case and ran with it. There was about $250 in there in coins.
That would have been a bit weighty, and yes,
it was
not
stupid.
It would be a soft one, right? A soft case.
It was a hard case, so easy to pick up.
But then, if it's open,
well, he closed the lid.
Still not.
So he closed the lid.
Yeah.
So the catches hadn't gone on, but he closed the lid and picked it up and ran. And because I was in a tunnel, he ran it to the end of the tunnel and go up the stairs. And it just happened to be lots of footy people around, two big Maoris walking down the steps who just clotheslined him WWE style. And he went flying. The money went flying everywhere. And I'm like, thank you. And everyone, I swear, everyone around just was picking up the money and putting it all back in the case. And I reckon nobody took anything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It can be a really good thing, just having people around, even if they're not listening to you.
Yep.
Or that they're passively listening. I do remember New Year's Eve one year being on the corner across from the train station. So I was trying to get the crowds coming back up from Elder Park. And one of the teenage kids that would, be in the mall causing trouble every now and then. He came up and grabbed out of my case and went to keep going. Well, he made a mistake because I was at the time standing up singing into my microphone to a backing track. So I literally chucked the microphone into my case and grabbed him and said, give that back. And I got my money back.
Yes.
So, whereas I think if I'm sitting down at the keyboard, they've got more of a chance of getting away because I've got to get myself up and then they're probably already gone. But yeah.
I think too,
certainly
what put me off from busking towards the end, and I'm going to, because Pete's asked the question too, but I want to just briefly touch on this before we go because it's relevant to Pete's question. I think as a society, as we've become more ignorant and mean, or just overlooking the growing amount of homeless people throughout our city streets, that has become a business in itself unfortunately of a lot of homeless people or people struggling to walk around and collect money as well. So that becomes a competition of buskers against these people, and that creates people to do desperate things because society walks over these homeless people and treats them like criminals. You treat people like criminals, they become criminals. It's so stupid. And then everyone's unhappy. And I think that's when I started to walk away from busking because it was really hard to compete with that. And I didn't want to compete with those people who were so desperate for money. I felt like I was taking money out of their mouth. It was morally hard. It's
hard as well because some of the people asking for money aren't doing it for the right reasons and aren't doing it in the right way.
Yep.
And for me personally, I find it difficult a lot of the time when they ask to say, yeah, okay, I'll take it out of my pocket and give it to you. Yet on many occasions, if someone's just there, they're not asking, then I feel like I'm giving and it's, it's like a good thing happening. I'd very much rather just give without feeling pressured to give. Or having, if that makes any sense.
Or having a set price. You couldn't give me $2, could you? It's like...
yeah.
Oh, you have a price tag?
What bugs me is if someone says, can you give me train fare? Like that's $2.80 or something. And then they go down 3 people away. Can you give me train fare, $2.80?
Yeah.
Like, and then it just like, you're like, no, if you were really desperate and you needed to get a train, you'd ask the one person and it would be the end of it. But you're just pulling a bit of a scam here as the way to try and get people's money. And definitely there there have been people sitting in spots that I've wanted to go and set up in, and they've got their bucket there or whatever, and I don't feel comfortable going anywhere in that vicinity. Then I'm like, oh, I'll go find somewhere else. And I don't know, I'm not sure what it's like currently in Melbourne, but in Sydney, I remember like having that just impression when I went to visit there and busk and everything, that there are so many homeless people there. They are everywhere, like on pretty much every street corner.
In Melbourne.
And it really is in your face that this is very much a problem that we're all dealing with. And I remember in Sydney, so they've got, I think it's the Queen Vic building.
Yep.
And out the front, or depends which end you're coming in, I guess, but there's an area with like a statue of, I think, the Queen and a little dog or something.
Yep, across from the little town hall little thing. Yep.
Yeah, across from the town hall. That's a better way to explain it. And so I was busking there one day, and this guy, he came when I'd been performing maybe 15 minutes, and he started throwing out all these hats. And he was trying to sell these hats, and he wasn't very far away from me. And I'm like, I'm not with him, you know, because it starts to feel like we're a team or something. And it's like, no, I was here. And then, and when I decided, okay, I'm going to pack up here, he came over and started chatting to me, and I wasn't feeling comfortable. I just wanted everything to be packed up and like be on my way and out of the vicinity, out of the situation. Well, as hats can travel, this guy started following me, talking to me, and you know, he followed me a couple of streets away, just yap, would not stop until I finally said, look, can you please sort of leave me alone? And he said yes. Well, I decided later to go out again and go to a different spot. Somehow this guy turns up, and I'm like, where? So this is one of my Sydney trips, and I'm just like, this is going off to a completely different area of Sydney. I was headed up to Hyde Park, and I'm like, I think that trip I was staying in a hostel, and so I was like located, you know, down away from the town hall. So I think to get to Hyde Park, I had to cross the entire city. But I'm like, there are so many ways across this city. How did I run into this guy again?
Tracking device.
And so I was, yeah, who knows? Maybe he did it while I wasn't looking somehow. But I was like running my little feet off, and you know, like Sydney's not flat, so there were definitely like hills I was going up with this 60-kilogram trolley, and I'm just like, just move as fast as you can, trying to outrun this guy and just like disappear on him, because it's really hard to disappear when you've got like this trolley that's like really loudly getting pushed along the street. Oh, which direction's she going in? Maybe that way.
Yeah, it must be so much harder having gear to push around too. Like it's easy with a guitar.
And that's the thing, you can't just like abandon it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I guess that would be like last resort. But because I know that night that I had the really big brawl breakout New Year's Eve 2-3 years ago, I was at the stage then of just, I split from my equipment. I got up and moved myself away, and I thought, you know, my equipment, it can get broken, but me, I need to try and keep myself safe. So there's certainly a line there that you cross, but for the most part, I like to keep my busking gear with me and not lose it, not have it get stolen.
Costs a little bit of money, you know, just a little bit.
A little bit.
And I think people don't realise too that you have to have busking permits. I mean, Sydney's one of the worst too. Sydney, there's 5 different permits across 5 different points of Sydney. It's
really?
Yeah. Well, I lived in Sydney for 17 years. And I used to busk at Central Station in Sydney and King's Cross. King's Cross late at night. And they have 5 areas split up with, and the permits used to be, this is a while ago, so they're about $25 I think each or something like that.
Yeah.
Melbourne, they didn't used to cost unless you wanted Burke Street Mall, prime real estate and they costed. Then they started doing, like when I was living in Brisbane, you had to audition and go to the mall in the middle of Brisbane and be there early in the morning and audition. And they have these wankers come with like little notebooks going, oh, yes, I think you're an okay busker. Like, what? So there's all these crazy rules that councils make up for us as well.
Yeah.
You still have to jump through hoops. It's a bit ludicrous.
Yeah, I'm understanding now why I didn't know there were 5 permits in Sydney, because the main permit I knew about, which just says excludes like King's Cross and this and this and this, and I was just like, oh, you can't busk there then. But
CBD.
obviously there must be separate ones that you can get for that. So you've just like enlightened me a little bit there as well. And I know there was like the main mall there in Sydney that was a separate one. But you know, I did find actually sometimes with the random street corners, I did better. And another thing that stands out from my like Sydney trip is people avoiding eye contact. Yeah. I never got that here in Adelaide, which is very interesting.
That's Sydney.
But you know, they were just very much like, you know, and so you got that vibe that they did liken buskers to homeless people, because, and it was interesting being on the other side of that, you know, and being treated in that manner. It's like, I wanted to say to them, it's okay, you can look at me without giving me money. Like, I'm not gonna like force you to give me any money if you look my way, if you like lend an ear. You can just like walk by and not stress, and you can enjoy my music, or you can continue on your day, but you don't like purposely have to like avert your eyes.
You don't have a bounty on your head. There's no set price.
Like when our eyes connect, it doesn't mean I'm going to like hypnotize you to give me money.
But see, that's Sydney. That's Sydney. Look, that's Sydney for everything. People ask, because I've lived in both. I grew up in Melbourne, but I lived in Sydney a long time. The difference between Melbourne and Sydney is if you fall over in Melbourne, people will help you up. If you fall over in Sydney, people will walk over you. It just is what it is, because people go there, I think, with a mindset, if you live there, of I want to get things done. I've got places to go. It's a bustling city, where everyone else is kind of a bit more relaxed around Australia. And even when I went there too, I didn't want to fall into that, but over the years I fell into that. I'm a motivated person now, because you have to be in Sydney or you get crushed.
I found in Sydney there's like it felt like half residents and half tourists. Yeah. And I can imagine being the half that's residents, the tourists would start to annoy you. Yeah, and you know, it is like the main destination coming to Australia. So I can see how it could definitely be something that would come about. And it was just interesting being from Adelaide, where we just chill, and even though the councils may not be super supportive of buskers, are people here in Adelaide, most of them, other than shop owners sometimes, are quite supportive and welcoming.
I don't like that song. Shop owners. So, look, I could do that. Pete's just written here, I want to subscribe to the Busking Stories with Sam and Jade podcast. We should do a podcast, an audio podcast once a month on busking.
Podcasts are great.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. But I'll round out the busking with Pete's question. What do you think the future of busking is, given the world events?
Look, you know, history moves itself along. We've had busking for quite a while now. And as Jade pointed out, like, there's lots of regulations nowadays. So it's become something that's very different to what it was when it first started, which I actually am not aware of, like, when busking first started, but I do believe, you know, in the 70s, people would, you know, be on the street and playing a guitar. So in my head, possibly the 70s, but I could be wrong. You know, please feel free to Google search it, let me know. But nowadays, it very much feels like we're more about the shops and the offices, rather than supporting the arts out on the street. So with that, piled on top of the fact that, you know, things are going a lot more cashless, and now that we've got COVID, I think the future of busking is looking a little bit bleak, to be honest, which is a shame because it was always such a interesting experience. You know, like even being a busker myself, sometimes I'm walking through town and I'm not about to busk, and I've sat down and just, you know, lose half hour or an hour or something just enjoying in the moment this performance being put on by someone that you completely weren't expecting and just took your day from like here to here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hopeful that it doesn't completely kill busking, but it's definitely going to be those that are really willing to put in a lot of hard work to get as much out of it as we used to. So who knows? You know, speaking to anyone, I'm sure they don't know what next year is going to hold.
Yeah.
I mean, 2020's certainly shown us that we have no idea what can be around the corner.
Yeah, for sure. Who knows what's going to happen next week? And next week is a month away, it feels like. And you know, look, there's probably there could be opportunities you don't know either. We're looking at people now using cashless apps where you can touch phones together, and you know, you could even have a phone on a stand while you're busking. People can just touch their phone onto your phone and transfer money that way.
I do wonder, because of the technology advances that we're having, or technological advances we're having, because we seem to be in this weird state at the moment where it's just not fully trusted yet.
Yep.
We're in like this limbo in between. And so I kind of see like there's a possibility of there being a rise in busking and it being financially like profitable once we've all gotten over as a society this like oddity that a singular person could have an FPOS machine.
Yep.
Or, you know, a way to pay electronically. So as much as like, I think, wow, these tools are amazing that we have now, maybe in 5 years' time, we'll have even better tools and people will just be like really willing to use them. And it all will filter through from the more that businesses push themselves towards cashless and that just being the everyday thing. So yeah, we'll see. 5 years from now, it could be very different and not necessarily worse.
Yeah. And we all could have neural lacing in our brains at that point and could just think, here's $1 from my brain into your brain. And
then I could think, thank you. I'm really grateful for that $1 that you just sent me.
Oh, that's really scary.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy. Let's not go that far.
Yeah, please.
I don't really want a microchip under my wrist that I just like scan onto things.
If you're watching Elon Musk, nah. That's a no from us. So on technology, into recording your music, how do you record your music, your albums that you've got? So you've got you've got 2 albums that are is it 2 albums that are covers?
Yeah, and then an EP and an original album.
Yep.
And I think like it's changed over the years. That first EP was released at the end of 2011. I did that all in a studio with people producing it for me. And then the covers albums, I had someone come out to my house for the first one and record everything. And then the second covers album ended up being I recorded everything at home and then sent it to someone to do all the mixing, the production and everything. And the original album ended up being that once more, but on a larger scale. I definitely had more of a budget on the original album than I did on the covers album. Plus, the covers album, I think, was just piano and vocals, whereas I added in extra instruments on the latest album. But when I say latest, that's 2016, and it always felt like every 1 to 2 years I wanted to be releasing something. But I spent so much money. I spent so much money on that last original album. And now I don't even know whether people are going to be buying CDs anymore. And I've still got a bunch of them sitting in my garage. And, you know, the thought of just like throwing them in the bin makes me extremely sad. And so I'm starting to think, is there some way that I can just give them to the people that want them? You know, do people still enjoy CDs every now and then? But I've got a lot. And so anything that happens in the future, I guess it just has to be electronic. Maybe minus a handful of CDs that I would make up just because I still like CDs and I like making a booklet and having it there and going, I did this. But yeah, because I use Windows, which is something that's just been, you know, as a kid, I learned Windows, and I think I only used Apple in my music TAFE course. So I'm not familiar too much with like iOS or whatever. So for Windows, I use Cubase. I know in my TAFE course we used the name is escaping me. It's the stereotypical recording software for Apple. Logic or Pro Tools, yeah. Oh, Pro Tools. Pro Tools would have been it. Yeah. So I've got my little like Steinberg interface and a little Rode mic here. Plug in a cable from my keys and do my recording like that. But unfortunately, I haven't got the experience with sound engineering to like completely do everything myself, which is kind of what holds me back when it comes to recording. I know people that they're releasing things every month, you know, or even less than a month, and it's just like I watch them, I'm like, wow, I wish I was that productive. I wish I had so much to show. But I guess my videos are like my outlet that I work most on, and I can't, you know, unfortunately we've got 7 days in a week and 52 weeks in a year, so there's only so much time. Yeah, for sure. Even when you spend it all at home.
Well, I'm still in lockdown here. We've got God knows how long. Look, and you know,
they haven't given you any update yet on maybe easing.
They've changed, like the curfews changed from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can have one person in your bubble, they call it. So one person can come into your house and you can go to their house, but they're not clear on what you have to do. If you have to sign up somewhere to let people, the government, know that you're doing it. I don't leave the house anyway. I don't care. Like I said it in other shows. I know it's been really hard for a lot of people. It's actually been really productive for me. Like I was homeless last year. My life was absolute shit. And this year I'm housed, and things have been amazing where other people are suffering, and I hate that. But at the same time, I'm having a good year. So,
well, I'm glad you're having a good year for sure.
It's not that bad.
Like, by being happy that you're having a good year doesn't take away from the fact that we're unhappy that others aren't. That
for sure.
Yeah, there's terrible things going on in the world, and I think for our mental health, we do need to hold on to the good parts. Yeah. You know, like and definitely over here, just to state over, it's a real shame, but we've got like. I think there's 0 cases at the moment. There might have been one today. I haven't looked. Like, and we're in such a situation where it's no longer like, oh, wake up, check the numbers. You know, like we are almost in a way back to pre-COVID, which is, it's interesting because so many other parts of the world we're not there yet. So to be over here in like a little bit of a paradise in a way. And in the same breath, there's so many effects from what's happened, all the closures and everything. And one of the things that isn't bouncing back as fast as some other things is busking. Yep. And so I kind of have to keep moving forward as if everything's closed. Yeah. And so still doing the online stuff seems to be the best path for me at the moment.
Apart from COVID tax. That's really annoying. COVID tax. All right. So you were my camera that I'm using here in the stream. My my Logitech C920 was something I got because of your recommendation. You sent me a link to a guy on eBay who's selling these. Remember, $40 they were. Remember, cheap as chips. That same guy is now selling them for $150. That's COVID tax.
Oh,
It's hit
yeah.
everything, and especially
Wow.
Logitech 920s are like the things that have been hit the
yeah.
hardest. Everyone like is selling them for at least $200 in shops now, because
That's insane.
they're the most reliable and decent cameras. They've upped them
Yeah.
back from their, and they're 10 years old, these cameras, but they've whacked them back up. COVID
Yeah, well,
tax.
everyone's like turning to live streaming that perhaps wasn't before. I'm glad I started setting up like last year or whatever. So yeah, I got mine at the $40 or whatever it was. But no, that's I guess anything that's in demand in our current situation is going to go up.
Yeah. And a lot is in demand because all the music stores have run out of gear, like, just an interface. You can't get interfaces. They're all on back order for a month, and they've whacked another $30 on top of them, or $50.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually
someone's making money.
surprised. The GoPro Hero 9 launched the other day, so I've put my order in, and I was surprised it wasn't more. But also, on the other hand, I was surprised that they were just like, yeah, let's release an action camera when a lot of the world can't go anywhere and do anything.
There's no action. Here's an action camera. Action.
So yeah, mine will definitely be to test it for vlogging purposes, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully they've upped their game enough for that, because they'll do really well if people can vlog with them. There's live streaming on them, so, but we're talking like at least $560 for just the camera. So,
Yep.
We're still quite a bit up from the Logitech cameras, even at their COVID tax prices.
Yeah, definitely. And,
Yeah.
and that thing's got subscription too and everything, doesn't it? So it's...
Oh, I think that's more like if you break it,
Right,
apparently you
okay.
get 2 replacements in a year. I'm
Yep.
like, probably not going to break it, but I guess. And then I'll just cancel out after a year. It got me like 30 to 50% off of their products. So I got a whole bunch of stuff for the like less than the price of just going to Good Guys or JV Hi-Fi or whatever and grabbing one. So super excited for that, because I've done a lot of vlogging lately, as you mentioned. And so it'd be nice to have a bit more quality over my little phone camera that I have been using.
And speaking of your vlogging, and let's talk about your
Yeah.
YouTube channel, because this I can combine everything into here. Because, as I said at the start of the show, you do these late night streams, early morning streams, whatever you want to call them, because it's not really late night, because we're streaming to people all around the world, so it's different everywhere. Sure, we're up late doing this stuff, but
it's really the equivalent of my afternoon.
yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. I sleep every day in the afternoon. I have an afternoon siesta because I'm up all night.
yeah.
It just is what it is, So your live streams are very interactive. Like, there's been nights where I've watched you play a whole bunch of songs, and then there's been nights where you've just had lots of chats and played less songs. Then you have your vlogging going on, where you're talking about your pets and stuff, and just how your mental health and how things are going. And then you've got your videos on your resin art as well. So these are 3 very different things that you have going on your channel.
Oh yeah.
How is that to balance those things? And like, do you pull different crowds for those kind of different aspects of your YouTube channel?
There's definitely a carryover, but I do think there's probably different crowds in amongst that, and like not everyone's gonna want to watch my vlogs. So I am just hopeful that everyone who's subscribed to my channel just understands that I do these different things, and that it's completely in their hands as to what content they want to watch. But basically, my channel's a place for me to express myself in my many different ways. And it started off, just as a music channel. Just, I think it was probably 2010 that I created it and had my first sort of little busking sessions, which wasn't even before I first started busking. It was part of like a music program, Youth on the Streets or something. I don't know. Yeah, I can't. Young artists. I don't know. And that was over in Norwood that I did some busking for that. So I think my first videos came from one of those sessions in Norwood. I'm so young and so well. mediocre. But they're still up on my channel. If you scroll far enough back, they are there. And so probably for like 6 years or so, it was just a place that every now and again I put up a cover song that I performed. And, you know, I'd be lucky if I got like 30 views on it or whatever. And then 3 years ago, started doing the My Life as a Busker series. I originally started writing it as a blog, and then I realized no one's going to read this because you just type and type and type. So I thought, no, we're going to go like video with this, and videos will let me just quickly say what I'm trying to type here in like 20 paragraphs. So I started doing that, and my channel just grew. And then like I brought back in the taking my camera out when I was busking, because I was like, well, this could be interesting, you know. And then I started to do just the odd cover song again here and there. And then the live streaming start happening when I got myself a 360 camera that was capable of it. And so I was like, yeah, we'll do that. Actually, I think I might have started with my phone before that. And then the live streaming moved to home because I realized I could get much better sound at home and, you know, spare myself going busking in the current situation that it was at the time of like, hey, no drunks approach me at home. Yeah. And I get people that actually want to listen to me on those streams. And then slowly from there I started, you know, actually I'm a real person too. So, you know, let's start showing you a bit of the behind the scenes, not just all the, you know, business as usual stuff. And the live streams, as you said, sometimes they're chatty and sometimes they're more music. And I just go with how the night goes. As you know, it's not like I come on with a plan. I'm like, right, I'm going to play from like, you know, 10 till 10:30, and then I'm going to talk till 10:45. It's just, you know, especially with people commenting, which I haven't actually looked at your comments down here, but Pete's in Norwood Parade at the moment.
I just read that.
So you'd be right. Like I was right near Dimmicks in that little alleyway down to Coles there. That's where I was performing like Dimmicks. 10 years ago. Oh, you know what? It was called Mullet Fest, and it had a fish as the image. Yeah, Mullet Youth Arts Festival, I think it was. So yeah, I don't know if you ended up finding it all the way back there, but I think it would be. I think I was performing my original song, Dream. I have a feeling that one was still up because some of them got privated. They were that bad. And maybe a Colby Calais one, maybe Battle, I reckon. I was in my little like hot pink skirt with colourful paint sort of all over it, and then like a loose fitting top, and my hair was all waved with a bit of a flower crown, I think, or something. So haven't changed that much. But
it's one of the things I love about your shows, how you are raw. You get up and before the show, sometimes you do your makeup right in front of the camera. You throw it all out there, and I really respect that. And I feel like I've got to know you so well just through that stuff. I mean, I chat more with you, it feels like, in those videos than I do privately on Facebook or anything. I feel like I know you that way. And you wear these amazing wigs and outfits, and you really put an effort into it. And I think personally, like when I watch you play, I always feel so much better for it. Like there are some videos I see in my subscriptions that pop up live and go, why am I still subscribed to that crap? But you pop up, and even if I'm going to sleep, it's like, oh, I have to click that. I have to do it because I'm going to feel better. So
you have to jump on and see what I've got on for the night and which vibe I'm going with. And yeah,
I know I'll feel better. So thank you for that.
Oh,
so
that's so cool.
Well, I implore anybody. So the links are all in the description to all of Samantha's stuff. So make sure you subscribe and watch her live streams. You'll have an absolute blast with that. And then you got into so I just want to cover your resin art too, because that I really enjoyed that as well. Like and you threw it completely out there. You started out doing those videos saying, look, I've not done this before, I've bought this resin art, I'm going to make this. And you know, you had your failings at the start, and I remember though those early things that you were making, I'm thinking I'd buy that. That looks really cool though. Like, it's, to me, mistakes sometimes are even more perfect than the perfect things because they're just so raw and honest.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I'm just lucky that I could involve you all. Like, here's this new thing that I think is really cool and I feel really passionate to try it. And, come along with me. Let's try this together. And I think it's been a while now since I've done a live stream of one of them, because I've been working on some more sort of involved projects that maybe span across like multiple sessions. And so I can't just show that all. And it's nice to kind of chill out with a YouTube video on in the background, and just like de-stress whilst doing something like that. But I will definitely be doing some more of those when I'm doing projects that can be done just in one setting. You get it.
It all makes sense. And you do go all in with things too. I love that too. So I'm going to ask about your gear and stuff soon and what you'd like to use. But like with the resin stuff, for example, like you started out with just a camera, and then by the end you had like multi-views with top views and stuff. And I was just thinking, how the hell are you managing all that stuff and trying to pour resin onto a tabletop? Like...
Yeah, I'm also in a pretty small room, so I've got constraints, but I do my best to work within them. And I always like to improve things and make them look as profesh as possible.
I can tell that, definitely. And I remember one night too, I will bring this up, you were doing a live stream and I was watching, and it was one of those nights where I was kind of going to sleep and I wasn't really watching the screen that much. And then somebody must have wrote in the chat, "You're out of sync with the video," and you were like, "Why didn't you guys tell me that I've been out of sync all this time?"
Well, I think we're like an hour and a half into the stream or something. I'm like, it's all unusable. What have I been doing?
I loved it. And I'll turn around.
Hey, at least you were still enjoying it.
I was. I didn't even realize you're out of sync. Like I had the phone off, the screen really off, and was just typing on the little text thing on my phone. That's what I do. I have my iPad over near my bed, and I have my phone in my hand using the chat, and I pull the chat box out and just put it in the browser. That's really weird. We all have our ways. So as I said, like, jump over, subscribe to Samantha's channel. It's really entertaining, and I'm there nearly all the time. And the music's fantastic too. Like, it's awesome. So you mentioned that you have a little Steinberg interface. You've got your mic. What are some of the instruments and tools and apps or things that you use that make your experiences busking or live streams that make it, if they were gone tomorrow, that would affect you?
Okay, if they're gone tomorrow, it would affect me. So definitely Cubase. And then, on the tablet, there's an app called Sheet Music Pro, I think.
Yep.
So that's what I use for my sheet music. So that one, if that disappeared. Guitar tabs as well. I still enjoy that, especially when I get requests on live streams for songs that I've heard, but I haven't learnt, and so I quickly look them up on guitar tabs and then give them a shot on my stream, which can be entertaining. It can work out very well sometimes, and I'm like, cool, why haven't I been doing this song for ages? But other times it can be like, yeah, there's a reason I don't do that song. So I'd say those couple of apps that I use on my tablet for music stuff. And then Cubase, obviously. I reckon if we actually move to like making videos, like you get very used to your video editing software.
Yeah. And
so if that disappeared and I had to learn something completely new again, it would hold me up a bit. I have actually only just swapped over. I was using Sony Movie Studio Platinum, and now I'm using Corel Video Studio Ultimate 2020. So they work similarly, but there's enough differences that occasionally I'll go, oh, I want to do this thing. How do I do that on here? And then, you have to maybe Google search if you can't just find it quickly. But I do like how easy it is to find things nowadays. Like usually if you have a question, you can just find an answer really easily. And I'm sure like your videos and Pete John's videos are a source of answering people's questions a lot of the time when they've got something related to all your iOS stuff that you cover. And I love that that's out there in the world. And I feel like probably my Life as a Busker series was a bit like that for some people. I wonder how much a busker earns.
Yeah.
I made that video. I wonder what it's like to be a busker. Are there pros and cons? What sort of things should I take with me when I, want to get set up? How much does it cost for that setup? Like, realistically, how much do I have to put in before I can actually go out and busk?
Mm-hmm.
And, all those videos that I made back then, though, kind of low quality in the actual filming my face, a lot of them were like, I had my my camera up here or something, just like very, very close. But other than that sort of thing, the information is still relevant. And yeah, we're just all very lucky that we live in
Absolutely. And, it's the one thing that has come from all this COVID stuff and all of us being locked down is the amount of creativity that is coming from everybody. And,
oh yeah,
look, I write a lot of stuff about like what's happening in the world on my Facebook of politics and stuff, but I'm all about a revolution. I think we need a revolution, and unfortunately, it's not happening. There hasn't been groundswell because the music has been so generic for the last 20 years. I feel personally, and I'm hoping that out of this lockdown and all these horrible things that are happening, that this really inspires people to start creating outside the box and generating that groundswell of music that has always been a part of revolution, because it's long overdue.
I definitely think when everything came about back in March, I myself had this like, you need to create more, like just create more. Like you have to be for these people across the world that are getting locked down. You need to be present and just creating so much for them. And if you notice, the amount of live streams I did back in March and even April was quite a lot compared to comparatively. Now I'm doing maybe one a week, maybe one every 2 weeks, because I am doing all the vlogging and everything else that I've got on my plate. But back then I definitely felt that, you need to make more. And so there was this upturn, and like even looking at my Instagram, because I usually post pictures of my get-ups, you'll see a lot more videos of all the different like costumes and wigs I was throwing together back in March. And then you see it slow down and it comes back more to just continuing to exist in the world that we're in. And when you get that like flood of I need to do this, I need to do all these things and create them, there's going to be that ebb and just drop back down to somewhere in the middle ground of like balancing everything that we're dealing with today. And so yeah, the streams may be a few less than they were back then, but I do try my best. What you said about splitting myself around all these different things, I do struggle with when I do one thing, feeling like I'm behind in another.
Yeah.
So, I only have so much time. So if I put a bit of time into this, then I'm not putting time into this other thing. And it's really hard to feel like you're achieving or hold on to that feeling of having achieved. So like last week, Saturday night, did a music stream, feel accomplished, go to bed, wake up, feel a little bit more accomplished. And then suddenly it's like, right, you've done that, what next? And it is difficult feeling like I've spread myself over these different things that I want to do, and I want to do them all at the same time. And it's not possible. So living in this state of like, you're always behind on something, not great, but hoping to work through that. Because I know that having drawn all these different crowds for the different things I do, there's always a want for more of the different things.
Yeah.
Whereas if I just stuck to maybe one avenue, maybe I'd be able to balance it all a bit better. But I do enjoy doing them all, and I've got to remember that I need to keep like enjoying what I'm doing. So I do a little bit of this here, a little bit of that there, and we just keep going.
Are you hard on yourself?
Oh, terribly. I am my absolute worst critic. And the only time that people's hate comments get to me is when they bring something up that I might have thought of myself. And I think, there you go. That's just, that's confirming it. That is a thing that you do, or that you are not. So.
Just on that, you brought that up. How do you deal with the shitty comments?
I usually don't respond to them, call my mum, say, this person said this thing, and then start talking about something else and pretend like I'm not getting affected by it until I've gone through enough of my day that I'm no longer getting affected by it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, being on the internet, you are going to receive hate, and the only way that you can try and work through it is, I don't know, whatever you can manage.
Yeah.
I can't manage to just completely ignore something. I need to process through it. So be careful with your words, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even me, I've said something in the past that I think offended someone, and I think they deleted my comment. Yet, you know, when I thought of it and commented it, I didn't think it was going to, you know, come across that way. So it's possible that, we have to be extra careful with our words if we don't want to impact other people. And we never know what people are struggling with behind the scenes and how something can affect them. They can pretend like it doesn't affect them all that they want, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't. So
I normally go and look at the profile and see what other comments they've made, because there's a trail that people leave on the internet, and normally you can tell straight away if that's their MO. And then I've
never done that.
If I see a trail,
you've done some cyber stalking.
it only takes you, a few comments, and if you see even 3 in a row, it's like, oh, that's done, cool. I don't even need to respond. Like, but it does get to you. So, and I'm going to bring this up now before we close out the show. So it was it's been a bit over a week or close to 2 weeks since I asked you to come on here, and I asked you ages ago to come on, but because of the time and stuff, we couldn't get it to happen. But
maybe a week ago. I think.
So about a week ago.
Yeah.
And how I asked you to come back on the show again was from one of your vlogs. It just came across as that you were struggling really hard, and I felt I needed to reach out and see if you're doing okay. Because like we're artists as well, but we're fragile as well, and I think people forget that, and I just wanted to reach out to you and go, you're okay? And because you live over there, I live over here, the best thing I thought I could do to say, hey, you're loved and you're awesome and I think you're the best is come on the show. I want to tell everybody how great you are. And that's, I think we need to look out for each other. So
I appreciate that, and it also didn't feel like it was just entirely like let's bring her on the show and give her a boost. It was because you'd already asked me in the past, and I'd gone, I don't do mornings.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought about it for like 0.2 seconds. I'm like, I just can't. I cannot get up that early and have to be like on and like talking. I could be like, hey Jade, yeah, how you doing? So I thought, maybe I should come on when I could actually be my usual self, and I'm glad that we managed to book this in.
Yeah.
Definitely from the vlog that you had seen like that day, I was like two weeks behind with posting my vlogs, and this is just the typical thing. Like I am trying to juggle, so I end up behind with things. But I do have to say, like, even though it was say 2 weeks old. It had been something that sort of persisted for a while. So actually today feels fine. So we got thumbs up on that one.
Isn't someone in daycare today, though?
Yeah.
The name we must not mention.
Yeah, so I actually took two of my cats out to the backyard today. I was like, come on, it's safe. Enjoy some sunshine, because we've got some nice sunshine today. And I couldn't get the one that basically just lives in my bedroom. She was under the bed somewhere, and I figured it would just like freak her out too much. But if she appears before I have to go pick up my puppy from daycare, then I will get her and take her out and go, you need some vitamin D out here. But no, it definitely, like, when you can have a day where you feel like you can actually achieve things. And I actually noticed, because I was coming in and out of this office where I live stream and do most things. I was coming in and out, and part of me had this like instinct of, oh, you better check on Zoe.
Yeah.
You know, what Zoe got into. And then I was like, oh, she's not here. It's okay. We can just go on with the things that we need to do. I mean, I was dropping her at daycare and trying to ask, like, how much would it cost to give her a wash as well? And trying to get the question out while I had a puppy that was like, I'll do this, I'll jump on her and I'll go here. And like, it just took like 3 times as long as normal. And I'm like, I can usually just get a sentence out. What's happening here? Dog. That's what it is. You can't concentrate. And so a lot of the time at home, I feel like I can't concentrate like I used to be able to, because I'm going, what's she destroying now?
Yeah.
What is happening out there? Because I feel like I should probably have knocked down the wall into my kitchen and just have like a see-through window so I can be like,
there's your next project.
Anyway, silliness on here talking about music, and here I am talking about my puppy.
Well, that's what this show's about. It's just about everything. So I'll ask the final question, which I ask everybody, and it's a tough one and an easy one. When is the best time, do you think, for people to start creating?
Now. Straight away.
Do it.
Just work with what you have. If you can afford to spend a little bit of money and get things that you need, then, of course, do that. But just start now, and the only way is through practice to get better. Certainly if I held off making my life as a busker till I was in my own house and I'd had a bit more practice, and I'm now 3 years down the track, and probably now would have been a good time to do that whole series. But instead, I just started it. I just did it, and that brought me to where I am now. And you can't look back on those things that you did when you first started and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, and just be completely judgmental, because doing that got you to where you are now. And so it will always be starting something new. You're not going to be at the peak of where you will be in the future. The same thing with resin art. I just start, and okay, I make lots of mistakes and it's messy and things don't work out all the time, but they are all learning experiences that get me forward into the future, the better version of myself.
You encapsulate something I say on my show all the time. Mistakes make you better. And I love that, I've got to watch you start resin art, and sometimes you'll do a live stream and you'll try a song off the cuff. Somebody's asked, you're like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. You try and find the key, and even if you stuff it up, you just go, whatever, and you just keep going. And that's really empowering. So, that's the way it should be. Mistakes make you better. Don't regret. Just do what makes you happy. So I'm going to go out with a song of yours. So I'm going to get you to choose what video I'm going to play next. So we've got, because Pete posted this in the chat, so it's you doing Scar live by Missy Higgins at the train station, or the recent one you just did a month ago of Cardigan by Taylor Swift. What would you prefer? Or is there something else you prefer? I can search it.
No. Whatever you want to do. What did Pete he's just put a playlist up.
No, this was earlier. He put the link to the Missy Higgins cover in Adelaide Station, I think it was.
I don't mind. What vibe do you want to go with? Home studio, like completely got everything, or just out in amongst a noisy train station playing like what, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that?
So ask the chat. What about, for those who are here, what do you guys want to hear? Missy Higgins at a train station, raw and uncut, or Cardigan by Taylor Swift in the studio from I think it's from a live stream, yeah? This was,
I actually did this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to get better sound on that one.
So, guys, put it in the chat because time's money, and we don't have much of it. Well, we do have a lot of time.
So while we've got some time, though, let me turn things back on you. What's in the works for you? Have you got any plans for things coming up? Things you might like to promote, or like
that's all I do on this channel.
Where do you hope to see yourself in, like, let's say 6 months? Because a year seems like 10 years in the future.
6 months. I hope I'm alive. That's the first thing. That's what I hope every day is that I'm breathing.
Yeah.
I hope to have my album.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah, I'd like to have my album out, which I've been working on for 7 years, and it's getting closer. I do a bit every day, just a little bit each day. It's 22 songs. It's a big project.
Wow. I was about to say how many songs. I mean, in comparison, you see my album was 12, so you've had another 10 songs on there.
Yeah, it's a double album.
Amazing. You'll be able to do a big long car trip listening to that.
Yeah, it goes for 2 hours. Yeah, it's long. I've got to finish this EP. Bloody song Timber that Pete's got going, so everybody's got to create a song, and stupidly me being me went, I'll do a 3-song EP, and everyone's doing 1 song.
Well,
stupid. That's just me.
You push it. You could always bring it back to 1. No one's gonna get on your back if you only end up doing 1 song.
Yeah, but
that's still more than what I'm gonna do.
I'll be on my back though. I'll be on my back.
Yeah. Okay. And we are our biggest people that push one another. I can't think of the word right now, but yeah, if the pushing that comes from inside of ourselves is greater than other people saying, oh, when are you going to do that?
Yeah. So that's all that's going on. I did say 4 songs at first, Gary, and I did have 4, and I scrapped one of them because it didn't fit the other 3. But
that's fair enough. You'd need to tell a cohesive story.
Yeah, and I did 4 because I knew maybe one of them wouldn't cut the mustard. So that's the reason behind that. But I did say 4, and there are 4, but one of them's garbage, in my opinion. Or I think one of them I'm going to use for another project, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you've got to release what you're happy with, because it starts with you.
Yeah.
And then hopefully other people enjoy it too.
And it's metal, and I need to get this anger out because it's been building up, and it's about what's going on in the world with conspiracy theories and people just talking shit. And I'm over it. So, and I'm sick of seeing everyone divided. I'm just over it. So that's what this album's about. So,
oh well, I'm excited to hear some of that.
It's pretty angry.
So, Song Timber, is that September? So we've still got a couple weeks. Is that it?
Yeah. So Pete started this thing a couple of years ago, and he puts it out there to everyone to make a song, record it, write it, release it by the end of the month. And it started off with a few people doing it, and Pete made this silly suggestion that whoever releases stuff on iTunes, he'll buy everyone's track. And each year, more and more people are releasing songs.
Good job, Pete.
You better up those subscribers, Pete.
That's a good way to support our community.
Yeah.
Get people motivated and productive.
Yeah, I can see 5 years from now there's what's he got, 60-odd thousand subscribers, and it gets to that year where it's like 2,500 people have made songs this song Timber. I'm ruined financially.
We'll just have to do some more live streams where I don't know,
raise some money,
collects funds.
have a
raise funds to support my song Timber. Everyone doing it all.
A fundraiser, like the Children's Hospital appeal.
I definitely think if it got to that point, he might have to say, "Look, guys, you know, I'm really glad you're all on board with this. Unfortunately, I have to pay my bills, so it'll be the first 50 odd people or something that I'll do it for."
Pete's just written, "I'll be one of those dudes selling hats in the train station next year." So look out, Sam. He'll be following you home as well.
There you go, new career path.
All right, so
hey, look, I don't mind if they're selling hats. Just give me some space.
Yeah, just don't creep on me.
Don't follow me home.
Hey, Busktober. There we go. Tom Michelle's got the right idea.
Oh, no.
Start Busktober. All right, folks. Now
we do have a vote there for Cardigan.
Yeah, I'm going for that.
And Pete's on the fence.
Of course, Pete's on the fence.
That's pushing it one way versus the other.
Pete's got a song called Fence Sitter, for God's sake. Of course he writes I'm on the fence because he's a fence sitter.
Hey, this stream's gone for a while. We've just been chatty today.
It always does. It normally goes for a bit over an hour and a half. And Pete...
come on, I was thinking like I was special here.
well, Pete had a go at me, I think, in his little interview thing, because his go really short. And he was in today's interview going, "Oh, we're going to have to go a little bit overtime today." And I think he went like 8 minutes, and he's like, "Oh, I've gone overtime." And he had a dig at me saying that mine went on forever.
Well, thank you, Pete, for being here. And is he a moderator? Is that what the little settings tool thing is?
Yeah.
Settings tool wrench. That one.
He's a moderator.
I'm so used to technology and not manual fixing things, whatever that is called. There we go. I'm just like showing some areas of information that I'm not very good at.
We'll have our weaknesses and strengths.
Yeah.
So, folks, all of Sam's information is in the description here. Website, YouTube, the links to all of her music. So go out, add it to your Spotify, add it to your Apple Music, buy it as well. Do all of that cool stuff. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's all there. So make sure you do yourself a favor, and hopefully I will see you in the audience on her live streams. That would be really nice, because I know many
I'd
of
love
you
to
are
have you over there. No, very, very varied. And if you are here in the chat, I'm going to be chatting with you. So always fun.
And my payment normally for these interviews to my guest is, as you can probably hear, your music's been playing in the background all through this. And what happens is I leave it running on my specific iPad here for the next 24 hours. So out of that, you may get 21 cents.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Of 24 hours of streaming your music.
Yeah.
So that's my payment. But at least when you look at your stats, you'll be like, "Oh my God, there's been all these listens to my music from Melbourne."
Wow.
That's Jade.
Well, thank you.
So I thought I'd cover that. Thank you so much. We are going to go out today with your cover of Taylor Swift's Cardigan. So any parting words you would like to say to our viewers here and those watching on the replay?
Well, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Tom. I was about to say Torn. God, I'm not wearing my glasses today. Thanks, Pete, of course, for being here. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you, Jade, for having me on. It's been just absolutely wonderful. I've had a good time. Thanks for, you definitely get my mind off things, and just, I think today is going to be a good day just because of this. So
awesome.
Thank you. And I hope everyone can come over and join me on my channel, Samantha Edge, and we can keep the party rolling in the future.
Yeah. All right, folks, this is Cardigan, cover by Taylor Swift, performed by the amazing Samantha Edge. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in. You'll see some things pop up on the screen at the end of this that you can subscribe, watch a playlist and all that jazz. So that always helps out. And I know you people are watching who haven't subscribed. I see my analytics, so subscribe or I'll do nothing. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll catch you on the next show. Adios, and here is some awesome music. Oops, I got to click the right video.
Yeah.
Vintage tea, brand new phone, high heels on, cobblestones, When you are young, they assume you know nothing. Sequin smile, black lipstick, sensual politics. When you are young, they assume you know nothing. But I knew you dancing in your Levi's, drunk under a streetlight. I knew you, hand under my sweatshirt, baby, kiss it better. And when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. The friend to all is a friend to none. Chase two girls, lose the one. When you are young, they assume you know nothing. But I knew you, playing hide and seek and giving me a weekend. I knew you, your heartbeat on the highline, once in 20 lifetimes. And when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. To kiss in cars and downtown bars was all we needed. And you drew stars around my scars, but now I'm bleeding. 'Cause I knew you, stepping on the last train, marked me like a bloodstain. I knew you, tried to change the ending, Peter losing Wendy. And I knew you, leaving like a father, running like water. And when you are young, they assume you know nothing. But I knew you'd linger like a tattoo kiss. I knew you'd haunt all of my what ifs. The smell of smoke would hang around this long. 'Cause I knew everything when I was young. I knew I'd cursed you for the longest time, chasing shadows in the grocery line. I knew you'd miss me once the thrill expired, and you'd be standing in my front porch light. And I knew you'd come back to me. You come back to me, and you come back to me, and you come back. And when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite.